Good morning, everybody, and this is your S&P 500 day trade setups for today. So we have smashed through some pretty significant levels. I did say to you yesterday in the Telegram channel, we were looking for a long in this area at 42.50, looking at the 50-minute price action. Never really came, but we'll get to that towards the end of the video, explain my thought process there. For me at the moment, looking at the 8-hour, oscillators still need to grow to the downside. We're looking for this kind of grouping. We're on the 155 EMA, and we have had a bit of a pin bar, but we're starting off with a rejection of this previous level here. This previous level is fairly interesting. This trend line gave way. That can come out. Nothing really we can do there. But if you look to the left, you can see all this congestion here. So that is something we need to pay attention to. But the same thing, you need to have a look at your higher time frames. And if you look at the daily, you see we're still very much in an uptrend. We have this trend line now that's going to come into play. We are kind of at the 50 EMA. You can see this is a 66 EMA, the red one. So your 50 EMA, which is something a lot of day traders use, the daily bar is just bouncing off that at the moment. So you've got resistance, you've got Fibonacci resistance as well. There you go. I did mention this yesterday. You know, between the 50 and the 61%, 61.8. So that is the Fibonacci expansion at the moment. But this is the worrying side for me. So this is just telling me there is more downside coming. And if we just go one level higher, just delete that. Onto the weekly. If you look at the weekly oscillators here, we've got a crossover on the weekly, and you know, look how far we are up there. So we're actually looking for a decent pullback, and 40,000 is, or 4,000, not 40,000, is pretty much a decent pullback in my eyes. That would be close to 10% correction, which a lot of people will buy. That's kind of what we're seeing, but obviously we need to start getting through this trend line, then we need to break through this low and then that low before we get there. Could happen in one day. It could also take a few weeks to happen. So we just need to trade what we see at the moment. So switching across the 3-hour, oscillators group to the downside trend. We've got trend line support, horizontal and a diagonal trend line support here. So this is an area which would have some interest. We've got the Fibonacci levels here as well. Oscillators are indicating the same thing. However, we do have a crossover here. Now, there are gaps to the downside. There are still quite a few gaps to the downside as we start breaking through each of these points here. So just keep that in the back of your mind as well. So those are going to act as magnets. Like I've been saying all of last week, there were some 5 and 15-minute gaps all the way down. Majority of those have been closed. There's still a few further down here, but all of the ones that were over here have been closed now. Just shows you how important they are. Okay, if we start looking at the hour, that's the level we're looking for. Have a look at the oscillators at the moment. So we came down, buyers came in the zone that I was looking for, didn't really get the confirmation, and then some profit taking at the close, taking us up, and now we're sort of going to resume our move to the downside. Oscillators grouping, well, not grouping, but coming to cross over far apart, and that, as you can see there, is an indication of another pretty strong move to the downside. I suspect we're coming back down to test this area. This 4,200 I think is next on the cards, so just draw that in. There it is, roughly around there. So I suspect probably 4,200 back up to test this diagonal trend line and probably reject it for some more continuation to the downside. So there's a lot of noise in the market. There's a lot of COVID noise at the moment, and there is also sort of bond yield that is falling, and there's a whole lot of things which are coming to play in the market, and that's basically what everybody's been screaming about. So a nice reset is very much on the cards. Okay, let's just get the 15 minutes and just explain the thought process of why there was no trade. So you can see coming onto the level here at 42.45, I said to you around 42.50 is what I'm looking for, which was a break of that area there. But this is the first signal. So after a strong move like this, I'm typically looking for a second signal because a V reversal is very rare in these markets. So that's the first signal. It started forming a flag. You can see immediately on the second pin bar, you can start drawing your trend line already. Okay, there it is there, and put one on the top. There you can see move down, flag. So you're expecting another move to the downside. Maybe we've come to the downside. It's now later in the session. Sort of Europe's gone to sleep at the moment. Nice grouping of all the oscillators and everything else, which indicating as a move, but nothing really materialized. We did get sort of an inside bar here, but straight into a range. Bit of a rounding bottom, but nothing spectacular. Okay, so what I would have expected is down, and then another rejection of this level that would have given me the opportunity to take it with a stop below the sort of the lowest point here. But when you get a flag into a range, probability is 50-50 of which way it's going to go on the range like that, especially when you're looking at this late in the session. Okay, so yeah, that kind of the view that I had at the moment. I'm very neutral. So looking at the hour moving averages are far apart. Look at my oscillators. Everything is indicating more downside to come today. So you should be looking to short scalp this. Problem is I don't see any structure higher up. So you're going to have to come down to the 15-minute and work off the 15-minute. And even on the 15-minute, I don't really see much structure. So that being said, probably just wait for European Open just to see what transpires, and then take it from there. If we do start bouncing up, say up to that level there, which is 4,300, so back up to test the 4,300. If we reject that, that's a decent area for a short with a stop above the swing high of yesterday. Somehow I don't think that's going to happen. I think rather stick to your Fibonacci's, and you can see we're kind of at the 61.8. So look for a rejection in this area again. Take the break of the candle, put your stop really tight above here so you risk as little as possible, and then you're looking for at least to come and test this diagonal here at 42.26, and then also 4,200 would be my next level. Okay, so anyway, that's my view at the moment. Not looking to buy just yet, looking for some structure or some stability before I start looking at longs. Hope it helps, and we'll catch up with you later. Cheers for now.